In the last movie, we looked at one way to create non-printing notes in your documents. But if you're anything like me and your memory isn't like it used to be, you probably want to leave notes for yourself all over the place. Well, the good news is that InDesign has a notes feature, so you can leave notes to yourself or for others if you're handing your document off to someone else. However, you can only add these kinds of notes inside a text frame as part of a story. Let me show you how it's done. I'm going to start by adding a note to this story, so I'll select it and just zoom in to 200% with Command 2 on the Mac or Control 2 on Windows. I'll double-click with a selection tool to switch over to the Type tool and place the cursor where I want the note. The Notes features show up in several places in InDesign, including the Notes menu, and also the Notes panel, which I can choose from the Window menu. To add a new note to this story, I can choose New Note from the Notes menu. You'll see two things happen. A small hourglass icon shows up in the story, and the focus changes to the Notes panel. Here, I can start typing. Here is my note. As simple as that. When I want to add a second note, I simply click wherever else I want to note. Let's say next to the green tea here, and I could go to the Notes menu, or I could just click here on New Note. Now I've got another note. Green tea or black tea? I'm asking a question there. You see, the note gets added right here. When you're adding notes, you should not select text. You can't add a note to selected text. You can only add a note when the text cursor is flashing. Besides the note itself, the Notes panel shows me information about the note, including when it was created and how long it is, who wrote the note. It says unknown username because it has no idea who I am right now, and also the total number of notes in this document. Let's change that username. You can change your username, tell InDesign who you are, by going to the File menu and choose User. I'll type in my name, and I can even change my color. Instead of gold, let's say I'll go to fuchsia. Click OK. And now, it doesn't change any notes that were already created because those were created by unknown user. But if I come down here and add a new note, you'll see that now this one is by me. And the color reflects that. Here's another way to add notes to my story. I can simply select some text, go to the Notes menu, and choose Convert to Note. That text becomes a note. I can see that note by clicking on the top part of the hourglass icon. It shows up here. If I later decide that I want that text in the story itself, it's easy to change back to text from a note by going to the Notes menu and say Convert to Text. There's no longer a note here, just the text. As you may know from earlier movies, the Story Editor is one of my favorite features, and I can see these notes in Story Editor simply by clicking inside a story, going to the Edit menu, and choosing Edit in Story Editor. Here you can see the two notes that are in this story, and not only can I see them, I can even edit them. I could click inside this note and start typing. That text was added to the note, not to the story itself. I'm going to close this story editor, and I'm going to zoom out on this document and deselect everything by pressing Command-Shift-A on the Mac or Control-Shift-A on Windows. And I'm going to pretend that I simply opened this document fresh, and it's a big document, and I have no idea if myself or anyone else added notes to this document. How could I find out if there's notes in here? Well, here's the trick. Simply click inside any text frame, it doesn't matter if there's notes or not, and then go to the Notes panel and click on Next Note. This button here will show you the next note in the document. It jumps right to the note. Not only that, it also tells you that there's 3 notes in my document. Not in the story, but in the entire document. I can now navigate through them by clicking on Next or Previous, and it takes me from one note to the next. After I select a note, I can click on this third button, which is the Go to Note Anchor button, and it will actually take me and place my cursor right where that note is in the text story. If I zoom in, let's say to 400%, Command 4 on the Mac or Control 4 on Windows, we can see that it's highlighted here. That's a quick way to navigate around your document from note to note. The Notes feature is even more helpful if you have editors who are using Adobe InCopy, because your notes show up there too, and their notes will show up for you. But even if you're just working on your own, adding notes is an easy way to prop up that rapidly failing memory and to become really efficient in InDesign.